Angela heard the cry just after dawn, faint, desperate, coming from behind the kitchen. She followed the sound to the trash bins and froze. There, inside the dumpster, wrapped in a yellow blanket, was a newborn baby, lips blue, barely breathing. She pulled the child out and held her close, trying to warm her tiny body. And that's when Julian Marshall's car pulled up. He stepped out, saw his housekeeper standing by the dumpster, holding a baby he'd never seen before. And in that moment, everything he thought he knew about her shattered. Julian Marshall had cut his London business trip short to surprise his 8-year-old daughter Emma before her Friday school recital. The September morning was cool and quiet. He pulled into the estate at 6:30 a.m., earlier than anyone expected, and then he saw her. Angela David, his housekeeper of 3 years, standing near the trash bins behind the kitchen, holding a screaming newborn wrapped in yellow. Julian's entire body went rigid. "What the hell is this, Mr. Marshall?" Angela spun around, eyes wide with shock and relief. "I didn't know you were coming home." "Whose baby is that?" Julian's voice was ice cold. Angela stepped toward him, the baby pressed against her chest. "Sir, please, just let me explain." "Explain?" Julian was already moving closer, his mind racing through impossible scenarios. "Did you give birth? Is this yours? How long has this been going on?" "It's not mine." "Then whose is it?" His voice rose, sharp and cutting. "Do you understand what you've done? My daughter lives here. I trusted you." The baby screamed louder, as if feeling the tension. Derek, the estate's security officer, appeared from the side entrance, his hand on his radio. "Mr. Marshall, everything okay?" Julian didn't take his eyes off Angela. "I don't know yet." Angela's hands trembled. "Please, sir, just read the note. It's not what you think. This is about your family, not mine." Julian froze. "What did you just say?" Angela's voice broke as tears filled her eyes. "His name is David. He's your nephew. And 3 days ago, his mother left him in that dumpster to die. Before we begin, hit like, subscribe, and tell me where in the world you're watching from. And if you've ever been blamed for something you didn't do, if you've ever saved someone and got punished for it, this story will break your heart and put it back together. Because sometimes, God uses the most broken people to do the most beautiful things." Julian's legs went weak. "My nephew?" The words barely came out. "David's been dead for 6 months." Angela pulled a crumpled piece of paper from her pocket. Her hands were shaking. "Madison left this." Julian took it. The handwriting was jagged, desperate. "I can't do this alone. David's gone. The money's gone. I'm gone. Please save him. Don't let them take him. I'm sorry. M. He read it twice before it made sense. "She was pregnant?" His voice broke. Nobody knew. Tears streamed down Angela's face. "She gave birth alone. 3 days ago, she left him in that dumpster to die." Julian stared at the baby. His brother's son. "Where is she now?" "I don't know." Angela's voice cracked. "Her apartment's empty. Her phone's dead. I've been searching everywhere. Hospitals, shelters. Nothing. 3 days. Julian's face went pale. "You've had him for 3 days? You were in London." "And the note, she begged me not to let them take him. So I used everything. My rent money, $527. I've been hiding him in my room because I was terrified." "Daddy?" Julian froze. Emma stood in the kitchen doorway, still in her pajamas, holding her stuffed rabbit. "Emma, go back inside." "Is the baby okay?" Her voice was so small, so scared. "Did you tell Daddy?" Julian's heart stopped. "Emma," he knelt down slowly. "What are you talking about?" She looked at Angela, then back at him. "I've been helping her, Daddy. At night, after you tuck me in, I go to Angela's room and help feed him." The air left Julian's lungs. His 8-year-old daughter, sneaking out, caring for a baby he didn't even know existed, while he was halfway across the world, completely blind. He stood up, his voice barely holding together. "Derek, pull up the security footage, right now." Inside the small office, Derek's fingers moved across the keyboard. September 18th, 2:47 a.m. The screen flickered to life. A car rolled through the back gate, slow, almost ghost-like. A woman stepped out. Julian leaned closer. "Madison." She looked. Hollow. Empty. like she wasn't really there anymore. She opened the back door, pulled out something, wrapped in cloth, walked toward the dumpster. Julian's throat closed. She lifted the lid, placed the bundle inside, stood there, staring down. Then, Derek's phone rang, cutting through the silence. He answered, listened. His face went white. "Mr. Marshall," his voice was tight. "You need to take this." He handed Julian the phone. "Mr. Marshall?" A woman's voice, professional but strained. "This is St. Catherine's Hospital. We have Madison Marshall here. She was admitted 3 days ago after an overdose. She's alive, but barely. You need to come now." Julian's hand gripped the phone so hard it almost cracked. "We're on our way." He hung up, looked at Angela, at Emma, at the baby, and realized everything he thought he knew about his life had just been torn apart. But the worst part? He still didn't know the full truth about what Madison had done that night, or why. The car was silent except for the baby's soft breathing. Julian drove. Angela sat in the back with the baby in her arms. Emma squeezed between them, her small hand resting on Angela's knee. Nobody spoke for the first 10 minutes. Julian's knuckles were white on the steering wheel, his mind racing through everything he should have done differently, everything he'd missed. "Mr. Marshall," Angela's voice was barely a whisper, "I need to tell you something." He glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "The night I found him, he wasn't crying at first. He was so cold he couldn't even make a sound." Julian's jaw tightened. "I thought he was already gone," Angela continued, her voice breaking. "But then I felt his little chest move, just barely, and I ran. I wrapped him in my coat and ran to my room and turned the heat up as high as it would go." Emma looked up at her. "You saved him." "I prayed," Angela whispered. "I prayed harder than I've ever prayed in my life. I said, 'God, please don't let this baby die. Not like this, not alone.'" Julian's throat burned. "Why didn't you call 911? His voice came out rougher than he meant it to. Angela was quiet for a moment. "Because I was scared," she said finally. "Scared they'd take him. Scared they'd blame me. Scared nobody would believe that I was just trying to help." Julian pulled onto the highway. The hospital was 20 minutes away. "I should have trusted you." The words felt like glass coming out. "I looked at you and assumed the worst. I didn't even give you a chance to explain." "You were scared too," Angela said softly. "That's not an excuse." Emma's small voice cut through the tension. "Daddy, is Aunt Madison going to be okay?" Julian's hands tightened on the wheel. "I don't know, sweetheart. Is she sick?" "Yes, very sick. In her body or her heart." Julian's eyes burned. His 8-year-old daughter understood more than he'd given her credit for. "Her heart," he said quietly. "Her heart is very, very sick." Emma looked down at the baby. "But her heart made him. So part of her heart is still good, right?" Angela's tears fell silently. Julian couldn't answer. They drove past exit signs, strip malls, gas stations, normal life moving around them while their world was falling apart. "What if she doesn't want to see us?" Angela asked suddenly. "What if she's angry I didn't let him go?" "Then we'll deal with it," Julian said. "But she needs to know he's alive. She needs to see that." The hospital sign appeared ahead. St. Catherine's Medical Center, 2 miles. Julian took the exit, and as they pulled into the parking lot, one thought burned through his mind louder than anything else. What if they were already too late? What if Madison had given up completely? And what if seeing this baby alive, breathing, safe, was the one thing that could either save her or destroy her? The psychiatric ward smelled like disinfectant and despair. A nurse led them down a long hallway. Her shoes squeaked against the tile. "She's been very quiet," the nurse said softly. "Hasn't spoken since she woke up." They stopped at room 247. The nurse knocked gently, then pushed the door open. Madison sat in a chair by the window, thin, so thin Julian barely recognized her. Her hair hung limply around her face, hospital gown sliding off her shoulders. She didn't turn when they entered. "Madison." Julian's voice came out rough. She flinched. Angela stepped forward slowly, the baby in her arms. "Madison, it's Angela. I found him 3 days ago. He was cold, but I warmed him up. I kept him safe, just like you asked." Madison's shoulders tensed. Then she saw the baby's reflection in the window glass. Her whole body started shaking. "No." The word came out broken. He's supposed to be gone. Madison. He's okay. I left him there so he wouldn't suffer. Her voice cracked. So he wouldn't grow up knowing his mother wanted to die. Julian moved closer. Madison? Look at me. She shook her head. I can't. Every time I look at him, all I see is David, your brother, the man you abandoned. The words hit Julian like a fist. You cut him off when he needed you most, Madison whispered. And then he died. And I was pregnant. And I had nobody. She finally turned around. Her face was hollow, eyes swollen and red. I went to your mother 3 months ago. Told her I was pregnant. Begged for help. Her voice dropped. She said, handle it privately. The Marshall name can't afford another embarrassment. Julian's blood went cold. So I did. I gave birth alone. Lived in my car for 2 weeks. And when I looked at that baby and felt nothing, I brought him to the one person I thought might care. She looked at Angela. And you did. Angela's tears fell silently. He needs you, Madison, she whispered. He needs his mother. I'm not a mother. I'm broken. Madison's voice shattered. Why else would I leave him in a dumpster? The baby stirred, started to cry. Madison covered her ears, started rocking. Make it stop, please. Julian knelt in front of her chair. You're right. I failed, David. I let my pride kill my brother. His voice broke. But you didn't fail this baby. You brought him to someone who could save him. That was brave. Madison's hands slowly dropped. Her eyes drifted to the baby. He looks like David, she whispered. Angela took a step forward. Do you want to hold him? Madison's hands trembled. She opened her mouth to answer, and the door burst open. Eleanor Marshall stood there, Julian's mother, perfectly dressed, makeup flawless. Her eyes swept the room, landed on the baby, then on Madison. What, she said coldly, is going on here? Eleanor's heels clicked against the hospital floor as she stepped inside. Her eyes moved from Madison to the baby, then to Julian. So it's true, she said. Her voice was calm, too calm. David's widow had a child and kept it hidden. Julian stood slowly. Mother, don't. She held up one hand. I received a very disturbing call from the hospital. Imagine my shock when they told me Madison was here, alive, with a baby. Madison shrank back in her chair. You knew, Julian said quietly. 3 months ago, she came to you for help. Eleanor's face didn't change. I offered her practical advice. You turned her away. I suggested she handle the situation privately, as any reasonable person would. Angela's arms tightened around the baby. She was pregnant and grieving. She needed family. Eleanor's gaze shifted to Angela, cold, measuring. And who are you to speak on family matters? She's the one who saved him, Julian said, his voice hard now. When Madison left him to die, Angela used her last dollar to keep him alive. Eleanor's lips pressed into a thin line. Left him where, exactly? In a dumpster, Madison whispered, her voice barely audible. Behind the kitchen. I left my son in a dumpster because I had nowhere else to go. The room went silent. Eleanor stared at her, and for just a moment, just a flicker, something passed across her face, but it disappeared as quickly as it came. Then it's fortunate someone found him, Eleanor said coolly. Now we can arrange proper care, a private adoption, discreet. The child will have a good life, and Madison can receive the help she clearly needs. No, Julian's voice cut through the room like a blade. Eleanor turned to him. Excuse me, he's not being adopted out. He's David's son. He's family. Julian, be reasonable. I'm done being reasonable. His voice rose. I'm done protecting the Marshall name while people suffer. David died because I cared more about image than my own brother. I won't make that mistake again. Eleanor's jaw tightened. You're being emotional. I'm being human. Emma, who'd been silent this whole time, stepped forward. Her small voice filled the space. Grandma, why don't you love us? Eleanor froze. Emma, that's not. You didn't help Aunt Madison when she was sad. You didn't help the baby. You only care about our last name. Emma's eyes filled with tears. But names don't hug you. People do. Eleanor looked at her granddaughter, and for the first time since she'd entered the room, her mask cracked. Just slightly. Emma, you don't understand. I understand that Angela loves us more than you do. The words hung in the air like smoke. Eleanor's face went pale. Julian put his hand on Emma's shoulder. looked at his mother. She's right. And until you can see that, you're not welcome around this child. Eleanor's eyes went wide. Julian, you can't possibly… I just did. For a long moment, Eleanor stood there, silent, her perfect composure finally cracking at the edges. Then she turned on her heel and walked out. The door closed behind her with a soft click. Madison looked up at Julian, her face wet with tears. You just lost your mother because of me. No, Julian said quietly. I just found my family. But as he said the words, his phone buzzed in his pocket. A text from an unknown number. He opened it, and his blood turned to ice. The message was simple, only 4 words. She's not the only one. Julian stared at his phone. She's not the only one. His heart pounded in his chest. What is it? Angela asked. Julian looked up. Madison was watching him from her chair. Emma stood close to Angela, one hand resting on the baby's blanket. I just got a text, he said slowly, from a number I don't recognize. What does it say? He held up the phone so Angela could see. Her face went pale. Madison's eyes widened. Wait, what does that mean? I don't know. Julian's mind raced. Do you know anyone else who knew about the baby? Madison shook her head. Nobody. I didn't tell anyone. That was the whole point. I was too ashamed. Julian looked at the message again. Then, at Madison. Think carefully. The night you left him, did anyone see you? Anyone at all? Madison's face crumpled as she tried to remember. I don't. I was barely there. I drove up, put him down, and left. It was dark. There was no one around. What about before that? At the hospital? When you gave birth? I used my maiden name. Monroe. Madison Monroe. Nobody knew who I really was. Julian's jaw tightened. Then who sent this? The room fell silent. Emma's small voice broke through. Maybe someone was trying to help. Julian looked down at his daughter. What do you mean, sweetheart? Maybe someone saw Aunt Madison and wanted to make sure the baby was okay. So they're telling you now. Angela nodded slowly. She might be right. If someone knew Madison was in trouble, maybe they've been watching, waiting to see if the baby survived. Julian's phone buzzed again. Another text. Check the hospital records. September 15th. Labor and delivery. You'll understand. His hands trembled as he typed back. Who is this? 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Then one final message came through. Someone who should have spoken up sooner. I'm sorry. Julian looked at Madison. September 15th. That's when you gave birth? She nodded, tears streaming down her face. Did anything happen that day? Anything unusual? Madison's breath caught. There was a nurse. She stayed with me the whole time because I was alone. She kept asking if I had anyone to call. I told her no. I told her I had nobody. Do you remember her name? She didn't wear a name tag. Or maybe she did and I don't remember. I was so tired, so empty. Julian pulled up the number and tried calling it. It rang once, then a recorded message. The number you have dialed is not in service. He looked at Angela. At Madison. At Emma. Someone knows what happened. And they're trying to tell us something. Angela's voice was barely a whisper. What if there's another baby? The words hung in the air like a weight. Madison's face went white. No, that's not possible. I only had one. Not yours, Angela said carefully. But what if someone else left a baby that night? What if someone else was desperate like you were? Julian's mind spun. Madison covered her mouth with her hand. Oh God, she whispered. There was a girl, in the hallway, young, maybe 17. She was crying, alone. The nurse went to her after she finished with me. Julian's blood ran cold. What happened to her? I don't know. I left before morning. I couldn't stay there. Julian looked at the text again. She's not the only one. His phone buzzed one more time. A photo this time. He opened it, and his heart stopped. It was a picture of a hospital bassinet. Empty. With a handwritten note taped to the side. Please forgive me. I can't do this. L. Julian showed the photo to Angela. Her hand flew to her mouth. Madison leaned forward from her chair, squinting at the screen. When she saw it, she went completely still. That's the same hospital, she whispered. That's the same floor I was on. Julian's hands shook. When was this taken? He checked the metadata on the photo. His stomach dropped. September 15th, 11:47 p.m. The same night Madison gave birth. Angela's voice was barely audible. There was another baby. Julian looked at her. And someone took this picture. Someone knew. But why wait 3 days to tell anyone? Madison asked, her voice rising. If there was another baby, why didn't they? She stopped. Her face crumpled. Because no one reported it, she said quietly. Just like no one reported mine. The truth settled over them like ice water. 2 women. 2 babies. Both abandoned on the same night. And no one had said a word. Julian's phone rang. He answered immediately. Mr. Marshall? It was a woman's voice, older, shaking. My name is Diane Porter. I'm a nurse at County General. I sent you those messages. Julian's pulse quickened. Where's the baby? The one in the photo? Silence on the other end. Miss Porter, where is the baby? I don't know. Her voice broke. The girl, she was 17. She gave birth alone. No family. No ID. She left the baby in the bassinet and disappeared before morning rounds. And you didn't report it? I tried. Diane's voice cracked. I told my supervisor. She said the girl probably came back for the baby during shift change, that it happens sometimes. She told me not to make a fuss, not to create paperwork for nothing. Julian's jaw clenched. So you just let it go? No. Diane was crying now. I checked the security footage myself. I saw the girl leave, alone, empty-handed. I saw someone else come in 20 minutes later. A man. He took the baby and walked out like it was nothing. Angela grabbed Julian's arm. Did you see his face? No. He wore a hood. But I have the footage. I saved it before they could delete it. They tried to delete it? Julian's voice went cold. The hospital doesn't want this getting out. 2 abandoned babies in one night? Do you know what that would do to their reputation? Madison stood up slowly, her legs shaking. So they covered it up. I'm so sorry, Diane whispered. I should have done more. I should have called the police. But I was scared of losing my job. And then I saw the news about your nephew, about your housekeeper saving him. And I realized that you could have saved the other one too, Julian finished. Diane sobbed on the other end. Julian closed his eyes. Send me the footage. Everything you have. Right now. Okay. But Mr. Marshall, there's something else you need to know. What? The girl, before she left, she wrote something on the whiteboard in her room. Just 2 words. Julian's heart pounded. What did she write? Diane's voice dropped to barely a whisper. Help me. The line went dead. Julian looked at Angela, at Madison, at Emma, standing there with her small hand on the baby's blanket, and he realized something that made his blood run cold. Someone had taken that second baby, on purpose, and if they didn't find him soon, they might never find him at all. His phone buzzed. The footage came through. Julian opened it with shaking hands, and what he saw made everything worse. Because the man in the hood? He wasn't a stranger. Julian had seen him before. Julian hit play on the video. The footage was grainy, black and white, time-stamped September 15th, 11:52 p.m. A figure entered the hospital room, hood pulled low, moving quickly but not running. He walked straight to the bassinet, looked down, then lifted the baby out with both hands, cradled it against his chest, and walked out. The whole thing took 43 seconds. Julian rewound it, paused on the moment the man's face turned slightly toward the camera, just for a split second. But it was enough. Angela leaned closer. Do you know him? Julian's mouth went dry. That's Paul. Who's Paul? My driver. Julian's voice came out hollow. He's worked for me for 8 years. The room went silent. Madison's hands gripped the arms of her chair. Your driver took a baby from the hospital? I don't understand. Julian's mind raced. Why would he? And then it hit him. Paul's daughter. 3 months ago, Paul had asked for time off, said his daughter was going through something. Family emergency. Julian had approved it without asking questions, because he never asked questions. He just signed papers and moved on. His daughter, Julian whispered. She's 17. She got pregnant last year. He was devastated, said she was too young, that her life would be ruined. Angela's face went pale. You think she's the girl who gave birth that night? I don't know. But if she was... Julian stopped. His hands were shaking now. If she was, and Paul knew she couldn't keep the baby. Maybe he thought he was helping her. Maybe he took the baby to give it to someone. Or maybe he left it somewhere, Madison said quietly. Just like I did. The words hung heavy in the air. Julian looked at the baby in Angela's arms. This tiny nephew, who'd almost died because the people who were supposed to love him had failed. And now there was another one, another child, another desperate mother, another man making a terrible choice. "We have to find him," Julian said. His voice was steady now, resolved. "We have to find Paul, and we have to find that baby." Emma tugged on his sleeve. "Daddy, what if the baby's already gone?" Julian knelt down, looked his daughter in the eyes. "Then we'll make sure people know what happened, so it never happens again." But even as he said it, he didn't believe it, because the truth was darker than that. People had known. The hospital knew, the supervisor knew, Diane knew, and they'd all chosen silence. Just like he'd chosen silence when David needed him. Just like Eleanor had chosen silence when Madison begged for help. Angela's voice broke through his thoughts. "Julian, what if Paul's daughter is still out there? What if she's like Madison, alone, scared, thinking she has no one?" Julian stood slowly. "Then we find her too." He pulled out his phone, dialed Paul's number. It rang, and rang, and rang. Then, voicemail. "Paul, it's Julian. I need you to call me back immediately. It's urgent." He hung up, looked at the others. "We're going to his house, right now." Madison stood up, her legs still shaky. "I'm coming with you." "Madison, you need to rest." "No." Her voice was firm, stronger than it had been all day. "That girl, whoever she is, she's me. And if there's any chance I can help her, I have to try." Julian looked at her, really looked at her, and saw something he hadn't seen before. Strength. Angela nodded. "We all go." They walked out of the hospital together, and as they reached the parking lot, Julian's phone buzzed one more time. A text from Paul's phone, but the words weren't Paul's. "Please don't come looking for us. It's already too late." Julian's car tore through the streets. Paul lived 20 minutes outside the city, a small house on a quiet street. White fence, normal, forgettable. Nobody spoke during the drive. When they pulled up, the house was dark. Julian killed the engine. "Stay here," he said. "No." Angela was already unbuckling. "We go together." They walked to the front door. Julian knocked. Nothing. He knocked again, harder this time. Still, nothing. "Paul," Julian's voice echoed down the empty street. "I know you're in there. Open the door." Silence. Then a sound, faint, from inside, crying. Not a baby. A girl. Julian's heart stopped. "Paul, I'm not leaving. Either you open this door, or I'm calling the police." A long pause. Then the lock clicked. The door opened slowly. Paul stood there, mid-50s, grey hair disheveled, eyes red and swollen. He looked broken. "Mr. Marshall," he whispered, "you shouldn't be here." "Where's your daughter?" Paul's face crumpled. "Upstairs." "And the baby?" Paul's knees buckled. He grabbed the doorframe to steady himself. "He's gone." Angela gasped. "What do you mean, gone?" Julian's voice was sharp. "I tried." Paul's voice cracked. "I swear to God I tried. But she couldn't keep him. She's 17. No money, no support. I thought I was protecting her." "So what did you do?" Julian stepped closer. "I took him to a church." Paul's tears fell freely now. "St. Mary's, 2 towns over. I left him in a basket at the back door during Sunday service. I thought someone would find him, someone who could give him a real life." Madison pushed past Julian. When did you leave him?" "This morning, right after dawn." Angela's eyes went wide. "That was hours ago. Did anyone find him?" "I don't know," Paul sobbed. "I drove away. I couldn't watch. I couldn't." Julian pulled out his phone, started dialing. "What church? Which one exactly?" "St. Mary's on Oakwood. But Mr. Marshall, I already called them an hour ago. They said no one found a baby. They checked everywhere." Julian froze mid-dial. "Then where is he?" The question hung in the air like smoke. From upstairs, the crying got louder. A girl's voice, broken, desperate. "Daddy, where's my baby? Please, where's my baby?" Paul covered his face with his hands. "She didn't want to give him up. I made her. I told her it was the only way. And now he's gone, and I don't know where he is, and she's—" He couldn't finish. Madison moved past him, headed for the stairs. "Madison, wait," Julian started, but she was already climbing. She reached the top, pushed open a bedroom door. A girl sat on the floor, thin, pale, rocking back and forth, arms wrapped around herself like she was trying to hold the pieces together. She looked up when Madison entered. Their eyes met, and Madison saw herself. She dropped to her knees in front of the girl. "I'm Madison," she said softly, "and 3 days ago, I left my baby in a dumpster because I thought he'd be better off without me." The girl's eyes widened. "But he wasn't," Madison continued, her voice breaking. "He needed me, and your baby needs you too, so we're going to find him. Together. Do you hear me? We're going to bring him home." The girl's face crumpled. "What if we're too late? Then we'll face it together," Madison whispered. "But I don't think we are, because someone's been watching over these babies, someone who won't let them disappear." She took the girl's hands in hers. "What's your name?" "Lily," the girl whispered. "Lily, when's the last time you prayed?" Lily shook her head. "I don't know if God hears people like me." "He does," Madison said. "I promise you, he does." Downstairs, Julian's phone rang. He answered. "Mr. Marshall?" A woman's voice, unfamiliar. "My name is Father Michael from St. Mary's. We just found something unusual in our donation box." Julian's heart pounded. "What did you find?" "A baby boy, wrapped in a hospital blanket. He's safe." "But Mr. Marshall..." "What?" "There's a note with him. It has your phone number on it." They found him at St. Mary's an hour later. Father Michael met them at the door, an older man with kind eyes and gentle hands. He led them to his office, and there, sleeping in a makeshift cradle made from a donation box lined with blankets, was a baby boy. Lily ran to him, dropped to her knees, lifted him into her arms, and sobbed. Not from sadness this time, from relief, from joy, from something she thought she'd lost forever. "I'm sorry," she whispered into his tiny ear. "I'm so sorry, baby. Mama's here now. Mama's here." Paul stood in the doorway, tears streaming down his face. "I'm sorry," he said to no one and everyone. "I thought I was protecting her. I thought..." "You were scared," Julian said quietly. "We all were." Madison sat beside Lily on the floor, put her arm around the girl's shoulders. "It's going to be okay," she whispered. "You're not alone anymore." Lily looked at her. "How did you survive it? The shame? The feeling like you ruined everything?" Madison smiled through her tears. "I didn't. Not alone. But then I met people who saw me, really saw me, and they didn't let me disappear." She looked at Angela. Angela, still holding baby David, knelt down beside them. "You're both mothers," she said softly. "Broken, scared, beautiful mothers. And these babies? They don't need perfect. They just need you, present, trying, loving them, even when it's hard." Emma stepped forward, looked at both babies. "They're so small," she whispered, "but they made all of us bigger." Julian pulled his daughter close. She was right. These two tiny boys, abandoned, almost lost, had torn open every wall he'd built, every lie he'd told himself about what family meant. Father Michael cleared his throat gently. "What happens now?" Julian looked at Paul, at Lily, at Madison, at Angela holding his nephew. "Now," he said slowly, "we build something better." 3 months later, the Marshall estate looked different. Madison lived in the guest house, healthy and working as a volunteer counselor for new mothers. Lily and her son lived there too, finishing her senior year online while Paul helped with childcare. Angela had her own cottage on the property, renovated, beautiful, with a nursery where baby David slept safely every night. And Julian? He'd cut his work travel by 70%, started a foundation with one mission. No mother should ever feel so alone that abandoning her child feels like the only option. They called it the David and Daniel Foundation, for the two boys who almost disappeared. On a Sunday morning in December, they all gathered in the south garden. Emma sat on the grass between the two babies, making them giggle. Madison and Lily talked quietly on the bench, sharing the kind of stories only they could understand. Paul stood nearby, watching his daughter laugh for the first time in months. Angela sat beside Julian. "You did it," she said softly. "You built a family." "We did it," Julian corrected. "You showed me how." "No," Angela smiled. "God showed you. I just didn't let you look away." Julian looked around at the people scattered across his lawn. Broken people, messy people, people who'd made terrible choices and somehow found grace anyway. "Do you think they'll be okay?" he asked. Angela watched Emma lift baby David into her lap. I think they already are. And as the December sun warmed their faces, Julian realized something he'd never understood before. Wealth wasn't what you kept. It was what you gave away when someone needed it most. Power wasn't control. It was kneeling down when someone was too broken to stand. And family? Family wasn't blood. It was showing up, again and again and again. Even when it cost you everything. Especially then,